Okay, I'm going to intervene here and jump into this a little bit. As you see, I'm over here on this, okay, MGTOW monk. Okay, this guy, Mike, whoever he is, I really don't know this guy. I don't get involved in this stuff a lot. But, I started off at the beginning of this video, and one of the first words out this man's mouth is something I've said for years, okay? And real TFLers, the majority of TFLers, real TFLers, the majority will all tell you the same thing. It's not about getting laid. And this MGTOW monk, this Mike guy, seems to think that the TFLers' problems is that they're angry because they're not getting laid. And TFL's never, ever, ever, ever from day one been about your ability to get laid. Okay? So you're taking what's been said 1,000 times over, okay, what TFL's really about, and you're manipulating it to your want. Okay, so you have manipulated it to your want of your belief, which is not true at all, but you'll have the audacity to get up here and criticize Steve, for making assumptions when you're doing the very same thing yourself, making assumptions. And as I was watching some of Steve's clips, like the first one he played, Steve was correct straight across the board with everything Steve said. So how are you playing this? I mean, let's just get into reality here before I play some of what this guy's saying, okay? The reality is this. We have a small percentage of men in society that choose not to be with women through their own choice. They've never went on a date, who are not TFL. They've chosen, are not gay neither, by the way. They've chose to be single and to not get involved. And most of these men that do this are men at a young age that saw how people were doing each other and didn't want the burden, didn't want the hassle. Never affected them any. They just went on with their own life, do their own thing. These men are not TFL, and these men are not men going their own way. Okay? Now, you have another percentage of men out here that are men going their own way. But these are the men like Peter Nolan. These are the men who've already had a life with a female, married and children, and as Steve told you, through the court system, was screwed and taken for a ride and dumped on and lost everything they worked for. Angry, pissed off at the corruption in the system, the family courts, and they've chose to walk away from women and not be in any kind of a committed relationship with a woman again for them reasons. And that is a MGTOW. That's a man going their own way. Okay? Now let's examine the so-called men going their own way that we're seeing here online. See, MRA, men's rights activists, you know the men's rights activist movement that has been hijacked and taken over by females. You know, the one that's been destroyed. Yeah, that one. The one that Paul Elam passed over to the feminist women. That one. Yeah, that very one. Well, there was a guy named Barbarossa. He's responsible for giving you the name men going their own way. And since that time, you got people like this guy who's branched off and saying he's a monk because he has chose to go his own way. What I find hilarious, though, is the fact that there are a whole lot of TFLers in denial that have jumped aboard MGTOW to say they're going their own way, which is actually hilarious because you're not going your own way. You couldn't be going your own way when the only reason you're there is because you've been rejected. So what are you going your own way from? What, being rejected? Okay, possibly, right? Now, yes, there are some men out here who have clearly had a few dates in their life, lived the drama, seen the corruption, experienced it themselves, and decided they're not putting up with this shit. And they've decided to go their own way. So we have a mix going on here. Okay, we have a mix of different guys, different situations in this world that's going on, okay? Would I agree with Steve when he says the majority of MGTOW is TFLers in denial? Yes, I do. I'll tell you why I agree with Steve with that. I agree with Steve on that factor because that's been proven to be the case. Okay? It's really actually been proven to be the case. I mean, you know, and of course, this is never 100% straight across the board. Nothing ever is. So to understand this, you have a high majority of MGTOWers, so-called men going their own way, that the only reason they're there is to fit in to a name that's been given to cover their tracks and their ass up from something that's very personal. Very, very personal. But the one thing I have observed, doesn't matter whether it's MRA, men going their own way, and the majority of TFLers, is there's not many people that's done their homework. There's very, very few people that's actually done their homework, that looked for where the problem came from. To understand why people are treating each other the way they're treating each other. To understand where this problem came from, the root cause. You don't see anybody looking for that. MRA never looked for it. MRA fed you symptoms, symptoms, symptoms. Everything you can see in your face. They never, ever, ever, one time, ever addressed a root cause. And this is something I've addressed, I've looked into intensively, and I totally understand and know where it comes from, and the majority of you ought to turn your back to that. And if you're going to turn your back to the root cause, then obviously you don't want the problem to go away. But let's listen to this. Got a minute.
On the first few clips, I have been pretty sick the last couple of days, but I'm getting my voice back. I've put out a couple other videos since I started this one, but it's worth noting that Steve Hoca, he likes to go into other MGTOW channels, and I kind of feel like he's a troll sometimes whenever he does this, because these people don't really understand just how much criticism Steve Hoca places on the men of MGTOW. Steve Hoca, almost on a weekly basis, will go on rants about how he thinks that most MGTOW are TFL, and he has no evidence to support his claim.
And you have nothing to back up your claim neither. I agree with Steve on this. I think most MGTOW is TFLers in denial. You know, the problem is this. It's a very personal situation. Most guys are cowards. That's right. Most men in today's society are nothing but cowards. And they're not going to own up to a reality, something they didn't create for themselves, to something that's not their fault, for fear of being shamed and ostracized and called names and made fun of and told it's their own fault. That's right. Something that they didn't create because they never looked for the root cause, because they didn't do their homework, because they clearly don't understand what's going on in today's society, but they think they do. They've convinced themselves that the propaganda, the lies they've been fed, is the truth. Lies will never be truth. Never, ever, ever.
Now, we all know that there are TFLers that are trying to take the label MGTOW, and it's kind of a contradiction in some senses, but in another sense, think about this, guys. This is why I'm not against TFLers out there. I'm not against them becoming MGTOW, because in the future, when the good-looking men and the decent-looking men and the average-looking men walk away, from the plantation, all that will be left is the TFLers. And if you think some of these leech-ass women out here won't get desperate and start saying, oh, okay, fine, I'll just go find me a TFL guy to support all my needs.
See, this is once again right here. You hear how he's talking? This guy's never once, ever, ever, ever once looked for the root cause. Okay? He's going along with the propaganda that's been fed to him. This is why you hear him talking about the purple pill and the red pill and the blah, 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 blah. This is really what's coming out of his mouth. Is blah, 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 blah. Yep. That's really what's coming out of his mouth is blah, blah. He don't know where the problem come from. He don't understand where it come from. He's going along with the propaganda, and he actually believes what he's saying when there's actually no truth to it at all.
You got to understand, women will do that. They'll get with an ugly guy if they have to. So it is important to note that there is value at being a TFL who is a MGTOW, because when the women run out of Tyrones and Chads and all these other guys, when they finally run out of this endless,
Well, they ain't going to finally run out. We have more than enough vaginas standing in line. We sure do. They have more than enough vaginas standing in line. There'll always be their next vagina, their next simp, their next pussy whip man. They're not running out of nothing. That's like when you say when they hit the wall. There ain't no wall. Women ain't gonna hit no wall. What are you living in a mirage, an illusion, a fantasy? Because you're sure not living in reality.
supply. Like, there'll always be a supply of men for women. There'll always be a supply. But
That's right. There will always be a supply. See, he's got some truth here.
when it's not as easily, readily available. So
But it's always going to be easily, readily available for him. See, this is what he don't understand.
some of these women will have to lower their standards.
No, they won't. Because there'll always be a simp that'll come along. That's right. Besides, I mean, let's get real here. If you was choosing to be a man going your own way in today's society, from observing and watching how one another's treating each other and understanding the majority of relationships in today's society, and I'll say it again, the majority is nothing but drama. Drama, drama, drama. Then I stand with you. I'm on your side. You should go your own way. Okay? Because the life of misery is no fun. Because that's what you're having. The destruction of the family unit. Social engineering, programming. Steve's mentioned this to you. And anybody that's ever done their homework, their real homework, understands the behaviors of people have been engineered into people. Okay?
just the way that it is. But anyways, getting back on to Steve Hoca. Okay, so he goes on and on and on every day, making claims that MGTOWs are TFLers. And what he doesn't realize is that when you're a monk, it's a choice to be a monk.
It's a choice to be a monk, I know. So when you chose to be a monkey, maybe you should go to the zoo and you could get yourself a banana. Okay, and you could have your bananas and hang out with your brothers and your friends in the cage. Okay, monkeys? Because, if a man chooses to go his own way, through what he's seeing going on in society, I stand with him for that. But you don't need to come up with all these names. I'm above this one because I'm calling myself a monk. You're just adding all these names and you're going along with propaganda. The majority of you haven't looked into anything.
It is an actual choice. Not all MGTOWs are monk, okay? Because
see this? Oh, because I made my choice, that means I'm going to give myself a new label, and not all MGTOWs are that because I made this label. You're either going your own way or you're not going your own way. Okay? And if you're going your own way because you see through the BS and don't want to be involved in that crap, I stand with you on that. But you don't need to come up with stupid names like I'm better than you, or I'm above you, or I'm a different category than you because I'm calling myself a monk. If you want to be a monkey, then go to the zoo, okay?
And the reason why I'm saying this is because he speaks as though all MGTOWs are monks. In fact, he's sitting here on the purple pill.
Well, there you are, purple pill. There you are, propaganda again. Stuff that's been fed to you, okay? But what we're talking about here is simple. Men going their own way is a man who's chose not to be with his opposite gender through their own choice. Okay, so they were Peter Nolan, and they had all these years with a woman and the kids, and family court system stole their home and all their belongings and took the kids from them and allowed the female to turn the kids against the father and blame the father, and the guys all fought, and he went his own way. I stand with him. If you're a man that sees how people are treating each other in today's society and sees all the drama going on and all the BS going on, and you're not willing to get involved with that, and you go your own way, I stand with you. But this BS of making new names to go with your going your own way and calling yourself a monk is just what it is, BS. This BS, the words that fell out your very own mouth, that TFLers are guys that just can't get laid, shows that you never done your homework. Just like you going along with the propaganda, you never done your homework. Because as I said when I first come up here, TFL has never, from day one, ever been about getting laid. True TFLers ain't worried about getting laid. If you want to get laid, you can go down and hire yourself a prostitute. You can get yourself a call girl. That's right, an escort. There's ways of getting laid. It's not about getting laid, never has been about getting laid. True TFLers want companionship. They want friendship. They want a companion. They want somebody that will love them for who they are, that they can love for who they are, to be with for the rest of their lives. Yes, it's sure they're going to have sex, but they didn't take sex from the last of the list to the beginning of the list. And we'll go on because I'm going to explain myself in a minute.
Channel, and obviously those men are purple pill, so they're not monk, so there are MGTOWs who are not TFL. So it's just insane that Steve Hoca goes on and on and on about how we're all TFLs. Now, when a man decides to go monk, he's not living a TFL life. But that's what Steve Hoca says. Because when he talked about my channel, he said, oh, Even somebody as good looking as Mike is living TFL. It just goes to show you blah, 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 whatever the fuck he was saying. But
So let's break that down a little bit. If you're not living a TFL life, if you have chose to go your own way, you don't have to have the word monk in it. I mean, I don't understand why you want to throw monk in there, because you're wanting to fit in with the clit again. You're wanting to fit in. Fit in. That's all that is. Your ability to want to fit in with other people and call yourself something you're not. Reality is, if you've chose to go your own way, and then you're not living TFL, because you've rightly made that decision for yourself. That is a reality. But the sad thing is we have a bunch of fraudulent people who are hiding under this mask, who are TFLers. That is true. And for the life of me, I can't understand, outside of, because it's so personal and you don't want to be ostracized and called names and made fun of, so you're cowards. Why you don't understand that TFL isn't something that anybody asked for. It's not the guy's fault. The majority of cases is not the man's fault. Yes, there are some men that are at fault for living TFL. They are their own enemy, and they brought it onto themselves. But that's not the majority. The majority are men who done everything society told them to, and through no fault of their own was rejected over and over and over and over and over and over. And that was brought on through social engineering. This is not no accident. This is deliberate. But most of you don't do the homework to understand that.
he did say that. He's trying to say that I'm living TFL. That's bullshit. Every so often, I get hit on by women. Ex-girlfriends try to hit me up. But I turn them down. Excuse me. That's not true force loneliness. That's called male empowerment.
Okay, so every so often, you get hit on by women. Exes. Okay, so what you're telling people is you have ex-girlfriends that are running back to you, and that you have rejected them, and that's male empowerment because you rejected them. I have an issue with that. Not that you couldn't have had an ex-girlfriend come back at you, or not that every now and again you may have a woman that actually comes on to you or hits on you. But the fact that you're going to throw exes in behind that, okay, and then you're going to call yourself male empowerment, says you're spilling a line of BS. That's what that says. You're spilling a line of BS. We'll go on.
The thing about Steve Hoca is that he's closer to TFL than most MGTOWs that I've ever met. And here's the proof. Listen for yourself, guys. It's hard for him to even get laid.
There you are. There you are. Social engineering's done a number on this fool. That's right. He thinks TFL is about getting laid. He never listened, never done his homework, never looked into what TFL was ever really about. He's going with what other people done, taking the truth and flipped it, twisted it, manipulated it to their want, so that they can criticize it, call it names, making fun of it. That's exactly what's happened. You took something, twisted and manipulated it, took it out of content, lied to the world and said it was something it wasn't. Now, I'm not saying this guy particularly done that, but he's fallen for it. He hasn't done his homework. He hasn't looked into anything. Did you hear what he said? Oh, but he hasn't gotten laid. Let's go on. I wonder if he's going to say something else that's really going to even put him to more of a shame.
quick, JV. I muted the microphone so I did feedback. Was what I want to know is I'm going to open up this Match.com account tomorrow, and what would your recommendations for me to guarantee that I can break my 5.5-year streak of at least getting a date, and even not even getting
5.5 years with no date.
So let's ask yourself a question. 5.5 years of no date. This means he's not getting laid. Isn't this what you're going to say? Yeah, you know that's what you're going to say. That's because you have fallen for the social engineering. You don't even understand what a date is about. You have no clue of what a date's about at all. You're going with the propaganda and the lies and the destruction of our society. You're running right along with the programming, the propaganda, and doing no homework. See? Because a date is not about putting your dick in a hole. It's not about sex. Never has been and never will be. Sex is the very last thing when it comes to dating in the real world. Back when people knew what they were talking about. Back when people knew what they were doing. Before the destruction of the family unit and the division of the genders. People dated to get to know one another, to see if they was compatible, if they could become friends. Oh, that's right, the friend zone. You know that rejection line, the friend zone, that the female uses because she's as messed up as the guy is. Social engineering and programming. When I said you got to move back in time, you said, well, you're not moving back in time because we're going forward. If you don't move back in time and first understand history, you'll never understand what they've done to you now. You have to move back in time and back to the days of Leave It to Beaver. You need to study how people acted, how people treated each other, and what people were doing when they went on a date. Then you would discover that the woman and the man went on a date. Didn't know each other. That's what blind dates were about. But you don't see blind dates no more, do you? No! But when that era was here, they went on dates not to put their dick in a hole, not to get laid. They went on dates to get to know one another. A girl and a guy may have dated 2 times and never seen each other again. Then again, a guy and a girl may have dated 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 7 years before they made a commitment and got together. Well, you said, well, why would they do that? Well, because they had to have to first see if they were compatible. They first became friends. That's right, friendship was never used as a rejection line. Because to find real love, you first have to become friends. So they dated and got to know each other and seen if they had things incompatible. This is something our society no longer does. Then you wonder why the divorce rate's where it's at, huh? You wonder why the domestic violence rate's where it's at, huh? Because you've absolutely done no homework. You absolutely have not looked at history. You absolutely haven't looked for the root cause. You don't understand what's going on because you've turned your back, looked the other way, called it a conspiracy theory and never looked into it, and just went along with whatever was fed to you. Whatever lie was told to you, you go along with it so perfectly.
Isn't that interesting? You know, he used to run marathons. I bet that was to impress the ladies. Notice how he stopped doing that. If you go to his channel, you'll see it.
See, now you don't like it when he assumed for you. See, you had an issue with Mr. Hoca assuming for you. But what are you doing right now? Aren't you doing the very same thing that you're complaining about he done to you? Yes, you are. Right there. You're doing the very same thing to Steve right now that you was bellying about him doing to you. Assuming you were a TFLer. Being embarrassed because you're a TFLer. So being embarrassed because the social engineering of our society divided is, and you're affected by that. So therefore you can't tell the truth and say that you're having a problem getting a date in your life. Or you're going to lie to fit in because you would not want to fit in. You wouldn't want to have people call you names or making fun of you because you care about what other people think about you, because you got to have your ability to groupthink, to not be an individual human being, to not have tough skin and really grow up and become a real man. I hate to say it that way, but this is all what that all boils down to.
For yourself. He used to run marathons. And when that didn't impress the ladies, he stopped doing that apparently. Apparently that wasn't important enough.
See, that's the assumption you just made for Steve Hoca. Do you know that's the real reason he done that? Do you really? Do you really know that? Or would that be an assumption? Yeah, that would be an assumption, wouldn't it? Of course it would be. So when Steve assumed that you're a TFLer, you got angry. Because he assumed that. You said, no, I'm not. But what are you doing? Oh, you're assuming he did this to impress women. So you are literally doing the same thing that you're complaining about him doing. You are literally doing yourself right now in everybody's face. So does that make you a hypocrite? Yeah, I would think so, yeah. You fit into the hypocrite category now.
You know, and it's been 5.5 years since he got with a woman. And it's not his choice. It wasn't like he walked away. He's not a MGTOW.
Right. It's not his choice. It's not like he walked away. Well, how do we actually know? How do we actually know that you're a real MGTOW yourself, that you made this choice? What, because you said so? Nah, don't buy that. I just can't buy that. Because there's too much propaganda and too many lies. Way too many lies going on. Okay? And when you want to say, well, but he hasn't had a date in 5 years, well, what about yourself? Oh, well, but I'm a man and I'm strong and I rejected. I found that very coincidental how you've been hit on a few times by exes, huh? By exes? Most of the time when it's an ex for a reason. You're not being hit on by the ex. If the relationship had just broke up and the ex is not done or over you, has feelings for you, then you might be hit on by your ex. But in the majority of cases in today's society, when it's over with and two people ain't together no more, they're not coming back and hitting on each other. This is why I don't find your excuse credible.
So, he doesn't understand why other men can find their own self-worth without pussy validation. See, Steve Hoca requires pussy validation.
No, see, there you go. This is, once again, shows everything I've already told you. This guy here has fallen for the propaganda and the social engineering, and it's not his fault. The social engineering's all around him. Okay? But because he's failed to do his homework, because he's failed to look for the root cause, to try to understand why people are acting the way they're acting, why women are acting the way they are, why men are doing what they're doing, to look for the causes, the actual causes that's led to where we're at right now, whether you're TFL, MGTOW, doesn't matter. NWO, New World Order. Destruction of the family unit was part of NWO. The feminist movement was one leg, one little strand off of NWO. All of this comes back to the stuff that you've never looked into. And because you've never looked for the root cause, you totally don't understand what's going on around you, but you will run with the propaganda they fed you. Problem, reaction, solution. They create the problem, they give you a fraudulent solution, and you run with that fraudulent solution. And don't look any further than that. Just believe whatever's fed to you. And that's what you're witnessing going on here. So this guy clearly has been a hypocrite. He's doing the same thing he's doing the same thing to Steve that he's complaining Steve done to him. He's been fraudulent when he's told you that, he has male empowerment because he has few women that every now and again that hit on him that just all seem to be his exes. Hold on now. So you got a few women that's hit on you now and again that you've turned down because they were all your exes. See, that statement within itself is nonsense. BS. If you was in a relationship that broke up and she really loved you, she may be trying to get you back. Yes, I agree with that. But that's not the way you stated it. You stated it very clearly and simple that you get hit on now and again by exes. That don't go together. Since that don't make no sense and don't go together and isn't even a reality, that tells me that Steve's probably right. You probably are TFL. And you're probably offended over being told the truth. You're probably offended over the fact that you're too scared to be honest. Because you would be embarrassed to be part of social engineering. You'd be embarrassed if you was affected by a problem that was engineered long before you were born. Oh, that's right. You don't know anything about that because you never looked into it. See, there's nothing to be embarrassed about. TFL isn't something to be ashamed about. Never has been. It's just like in the dating arena. You took what came last, sex, and you put that very at the very front, and set a date about getting laid. Now, I'm not saying this guy directly done that, but he's going along with that narrative, and that narrative was part of the destruction of our society, brought to you by the powers to be, social engineering. He's going along with the propaganda. He's fallen for it hook, line, and sinker. I'm going to cut this video now. I've said about what I've had to say, but this guy has no room to be criticizing Steve whatsoever. Steve most likely is correct. He's TFL. In denial. And he's going to tell you he's a monk. He's going to lie to you and tell you he's something he's not. Okay? First off, get rid of the damn monk. If you want to be a monkey, go to the zoo. I'll give you some bananas. You can climb in a cage. If you want to be a man going your own way, and it's because you see the corruption in our society and how people are treating each other and how it's all messed up and you're not be willing to put yourself in that situation, then I would agree with you and I would stand with you. But get rid of the damn monk bullshit, okay, and be honest. Because you're not having some few women hitting on you now and again that are all exes. That's a crock of shit. That alone says you're TFL. See, you outsmarted yourself. Common sense screams it. And stop criticizing Steve for doing unto you what you're doing unto him when you're doing the exact same thing yourself. See how quick you made an assumption about his marathons? See how quick when Steve was honest and says he hasn't been on a date in 5 years, you're using that to try to hike yourself into a level that you're not? By the way, where's your face? Where's your face? See, Stevie showed his face on video. Where's your face? Oh, that's right, you're hiding that. And see, my face and my name's out there too. I just thought I'd throw that at you last minute, but I'm getting out of here. I've said all I can say about this guy. But yeah, I agree with Steve. This guy's most likely TFL himself. Yes, no lie. I don't care how angry you get. You sort of told on yourself when you said how you have women that hit on you now and again, and they're all exes. That right there, I'm sorry, in the real world, no. If you was in a relationship with somebody for a long time and that person still has feelings for you, then they might be trying to get you back, yes. But that's not what you said. You clearly stated that you get hit on now and again by exes. That stinks. That says that you're TFL. See how you told on yourself and didn't even know it? As you are following the programming because you've looked into nothing, and TFL has never been about getting laid. Ever. And I'm not going to say any more on that because that's taking what TFL is really about and manipulating it to your own want. And that don't cut it because it's never been about that. Because you say it is, doesn't make it so. That's called lying, deceiving, telling people bullshit. Anyhow, I'm out of here.